Before we dive into tonight's tale, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you want more creepy stories that will keep you up at night. So, my name's James Reichman, 37 years old, just a guy trying to keep his head above water, you know? I grew up in this dusty little nowhere town about 20 miles outside Wichita, Kansas. Not much to it, a couple of gas stations, a diner that's been frying the same grease since the 80s, and a whole lot of flat nothing stretching out forever. I've been bouncing around jobs my whole life. Man, pumping gas, stacking boxes in warehouses, even did a stint at a tire shop where the owner yelled more than he paid. Whatever kept the lights on, I was there. Last year, though, I landed at this place called Heartland Processing. It's a meatpacking plant, way out on the Kansas plains, where the wind cuts cold and the horizon's just a gray smear of dirt and sky. This place is massive. Imagine a sprawling mess of concrete and rusted steel, all these jagged edges poking up like some giant machine that never sleeps. Day and night, it's chewing through cattle, hooves clacking on the ramps, the whole operation roaring like it's got a mind of its own. The smell hits you first, dude. You step out of your car in that gravel lot, and it's like a punch to the face. Sour and thick, this metallic tang that sticks in your throat. It's blood, sure, but baked into the ground, mixed with the damp rot of the plains. I'd gag every time I clocked in, tugging my ball cap down like that'd block it out. They threw me on the night shift right away, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., because that's where they stick the newbies who don't know better. It's creepy as hell out there after dark. The plant's lit up with these flickering sodium lights, casting long shadows that jerk around when the wind kicks up. Inside, it's just a skeleton crew, maybe 20 of us spread across this huge floor, surrounded by the constant drone of machines. You've got the grinders growling low, the conveyor belts rattling, and these big industrial fans humming overhead, stirring up the stink so it never settles. My first night, I'm still getting my bearings, right? I'm trudging around in these heavy rubber boots they gave me. Cheap ones, too big, soles already caked with blood that's tacky underfoot. The floor's this slick mess of red and gray, and I'm trying not to slip while hauling a mop that smells worse than the air. I'm posted near the grinder station, this massive steel beast with blades that spin so fast they're just a blur. I'm wiping sweat off my forehead with my sleeve, already soaked through, even though it's freezing in there, when everything goes sideways. This guy, maybe 10 feet from me, I don't even know his name yet. He's just some dude in a stained apron, hairnet slipping off. He lets out this scream. It's sharp, cuts right through the noise, but it's over quick, like someone flipped a switch. I snap my head up, and he's gone. Just gone. 1 second he's there, the next he's yanked into the grinder, this wet crunch echoing as the machine keeps chugging like nothing happened. Blood sprays across the steel, a little hits my cheek, warm and sticky, and I'm just standing there, boots rooted to the floor, heart slamming in my chest. I'm waiting for chaos, you know? Someone to hit the kill switch, yell for a medic, something. But nobody moves. The other guys just keep working. Heads down, hands moving fast, like it's routine. Then this supervisor rolls up, this skinny dude with a buzz cut so tight you can see his scalp, eyes all sunken like he hasn't slept in years. He doesn't even glance at the grinder, just pulls this beat-up leather ledger from under his arm, things old, cracked, stained dark, and scratches something in it with a stubby pencil. He looks at me, face blank, and snaps, "Keep moving, Reichman. Shit happens." That's it. No panic, no radio call, nothing. I'm staring at him, mouth half open, thinking, what the hell kind of place is this? My hands are shaking now, adrenaline buzzing through me, but I grab the mop again because what else am I gonna do? Later, I'm back at my locker, end of the shift, just trying to peel off those damn boots and get out of there. The locker room's this dim, concrete box, flickering fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, a couple guys muttering to each other across the benches. I'm sitting there, rubbing my face, still smelling that guy's blood on my skin, when I notice something shoved into the vent of my locker. It's an envelope, damp, heavy, this dark smear soaking through the paper. I grab it, and the smell hits me hard. Raw meat, rancid, like it's been sitting out too long. My fingers are trembling as I rip it open, and inside's this crumpled note, written in jagged red ink that looks wet, like it might smear if I touch it. Big, uneven letters scream, "Follow these or you're next." I just sit there, staring at it, my breath catching in my throat. My locker slams shut. I didn't even mean to hit it that hard. And I'm thinking, what I signed myself up for, man? I'm broke, though, flat out broke. Rent's due, truck's on its last legs, and this job's the only thing keeping me afloat. So I stuff the note in my pocket, grab my jacket, and head out into the cold, that hum of the plant still ringing in my ears. So I'm back at my place after that first night, just this little one-bedroom trailer on the edge of town, walls thin enough you can hear the wind rattling the siding. I'm sitting at my kitchen table, which is really just a card table I nabbed from a garage sale, nursing a cheap beer that's gone warm. That envelope sitting there in front of me, still damp, still stinking like death. I'd tossed it on the passenger seat of my truck on the way home, windows cracked to air out the smell, but it followed me anyway. Now I'm picking at it with one hand, the other wrapped around the can, trying to figure out if I should just chuck it and pretend I never saw it. But something's gnawing at me, you know? That guy getting chewed up, the supervisor's dead eyes, that damn ledger, it's all swirling in my head. I finally unfold the note all the way, smoothing it out on the table. The paper's rough, stained, and the red ink looks like it's bleeding into the creases. It's got these rules listed out, short, sharp, like someone barked them at me from the shadows. Here's what it says, word for word. Rule 1, if a cow's marked, tell the boss. Fast. Rule 2, when the line races, bleed on the metal. Rule 3, don't look at the white hats. Rule 4, count the hooks, watch the numbers. Rule 5, if the meat moves, wrap it, ditch it in 17. That's it. No explanation, no welcome to the team, just these weird-ass orders. I read them over twice, mouthing the words under my breath, trying to make sense of it. Bleed on the metal? White hats? Ditch it in 17? What's that even mean? I lean back in my chair, the metal legs creaking under me, and take a long swig of that flat beer. My first thought's that it's some sick prank, maybe the old-timers screwing with the new guy, seeing if I'll freak out and bolt. I've dealt with hazing before, like when I worked at the warehouse and they locked me in the freezer for 20 minutes, laughing through the door. But this feels different, man. There's no punchline here, just that threat at the top, follow these or you're next, staring me down. I get up, pace a little across the linoleum floor. It's peeling in the corners, sticky from years of spills I never bothered to clean. The trailer's quiet, except for the faint hum of the fridge and the wind outside, whistling through the gaps. I'm turning the note over in my hands, feeling the dampness seep into my fingers, and I can't shake this image of the grinder, that guy's scream cutting off like a snapped wire. I mutter to myself, "This is nuts, James. You're not doing this." But then I think about my bank account, negative $12 last I checked, and the stack of bills pinned under a coffee mug on the counter. I don't have a choice, do I? I grab my coat off the hook by the door, shove the note deep into my pocket, and head back out to the truck. The whole drive to the plant that night, I've got one hand on the wheel, the other patting that pocket, feeling the crinkle of the paper. The plant looms up ahead, all lit up against the dark, and there's this low hum rolling out of it, steady, alive, like it's waiting for me to screw up and find out what next really means. So I pull into the lot for my second night, truck rattling over the gravel, and that hum from the plant's already seeping through the cracked windshield. I'm still patting that note in my pocket, the edges worn soft from me fiddling with it all day. I'd barely slept, kept picturing that guy's scream, the way the grinder didn't even hiccup, just crashed on my lumpy couch with the TV buzzing static in the background. Now I'm back, stepping out into that sour air, the sky pitch black except for the plant's glow. I tug my jacket tighter, boots crunching as I head inside, telling myself to just keep my head down and clock the hours. But deep down, man, I know something's off. That note's burning a hole in my mind, and I'm already dreading what's waiting for me in there. A few nights in now, they're blurring together, and this place is relentless. The blades are always whining, this high-pitched screech that drills into your skull, and the blood's pooling everywhere, slicking up the concrete till it's a damn skating rink. That sweet wrong stench, like rotting sugar mixed with iron, It's coating everything, my clothes, my hair, even my damn eyelashes when I blink too slow. It's loud as hell too, chaotic, a nonstop roar of machinery that never lets up. The night shifts like a ghost town, just a handful of us stumbling around, bleary-eyed, while the conveyors clank and the grinders growl. You'd think a place this alive would feel busy, but it's empty in a way. Us workers just shadows drifting between the steel hulks, drowned out by the noise. And shit starts getting weird fast, man, like the plant's testing me, seeing if I'll crack. It's probably my third night. I'm losing track already. When I'm stationed near the unload dock, where they roll the cattle in off the trucks, I'm leaning against a rail, wiping my hands on my apron, trying to shake the ache out of my legs from standing too long. The air's colder here, slicing through my hoodie, and I can hear the cows lowing outside, their hooves thudding on the metal ramps. This one rolls in on the line. Big bastard, broad shoulders, hide still steaming from the truck's heat. I'm half asleep, just watching it sway on the hook when I catch something off. There's this mark carved into its side, deep, fresh, like someone took a knife and went to town. It's circles, man, 3 of them looping around this jagged eye shape, the cuts so clean they're still oozing red. My stomach flips, and Rule 1 slams into my head. If a cow's marked, tell the boss, fast. I spin around, boots slipping a little on the wet floor, and yell, "Carl! Hey Carl, check this out!" My voice cracks, bouncing off the steel walls. Carl's my supervisor, this twitchy guy, all sharp edges, like he's made of wire and caffeine. He's over by the control panel, fiddling with some switches, his buzz cut gleaming under the lights. He jerks his head up, scowls at me like I'm wasting his time, and stomps over, his clipboard banging against his thigh. "What now, Reichman?" he snaps, but then he sees it, the cow, the mark, and his face just drains, man. Goes white as a damn sheet, eyes bugging out. He drops the clipboard, clatters loud on the floor, and barks, "Stay put, don't move." Before I can even ask what's up, he's gone, bolting toward the back of the floor, his boots slapping the concrete. I'm standing there, heart thumping, staring at that cow dangling on the hook. The mark's almost glowing under the harsh lights, wet and slick, and I swear the air's thicker now, pressing down on me. Then out of nowhere, these guys roll in, 3 of them, decked out in hazmat suits, the kind you see in those biohazard movies. They're quiet, too quiet, moving stiff like robots, their boots barely making a sound. No radios crackling, no chatter, just these sealed-up figures in yellow, faces hidden behind tinted visors. They don't even look at me, just swarm the cow, unhooking it fast, chains rattling as they yank it down. I catch a glimpse of this hidden door in the wall, flush with the concrete, no handle, just a seam I never noticed before. It swings open with a low groan, and they haul the cow through, its hooves dragging, leaving a red smear. The door slams shut, hard, metal on metal, echoing through the floor, and I'm just blinking at the spot, mouth dry, wondering where the hell they took it. Carl's back a minute later, shuffling up like nothing happened, his hands stuffed in his pockets. He's muttering under his breath, something I can't catch, and then he fixes me with this hard stare. "Drop it," he says, voice low, clipped. "You didn't see that, got it?" I nod, slow, but my mind's racing. What was that mark? Where'd they take it? I turn back to my station, grabbing a hose to spray down the blood trail, the water hissing as it hits the warm floor. Shift ends a few hours later, and I'm dragging myself to the locker room, peeling off my soaked apron, when I notice it's quieter than usual. Next night rolls around, and 3 guys, ones I'd seen joking around by the break room vending machine, don't show up. No call, no word, just gone. I ask this older dude, Pete, who's been here forever, what's up? He's leaning on his mop, chewing gum slow, and just shrugs. "Happens sometimes," he says, spitting into a drain. "Don't ask." I head back to my spot, that note heavy in my pocket, and the hum of the plant feels louder now, like it's laughing at me. So, after that whole deal with the marked cow and those hazmat creeps, I'm on edge, man. Every shift's got me jumping at shadows, waiting for the next weird thing to drop. I'm back at it a couple nights later, pretty sure it's night 5 now, though the days are smearing together like grease on a windshield. I'm posted near the main line this time, where the carcasses zip through on these big overhead hooks, swaying like some messed up parade. The air's thick as ever, that sweet rotten stink clinging to my skin, and I'm chugging a lukewarm coffee from the break room machine just to stay upright. It tastes like burnt dirt, but it's keeping my eyes open. Barely. The plant's humming along, same as always. Fans droning overhead, blades shrieking in the distance, the occasional shout from a guy across the floor. I'm just trying to focus on the rhythm. Let it drown out the nagging feeling that I'm in way over my head. Then, out of nowhere, the line goes berserk. It's like someone cranked the speed dial to 11. The conveyor belt starts screaming, this high-pitched whine that makes my teeth ache, and the hooks are flying past so fast, they're a blur. Meat slamming around, chunks tearing off and splattering the floor, the walls, even my damn boots. I stumble back, nearly tripping over a hose coiled behind me, and I'm yelling, "What the hell's going on?" But nobody's answering, just heads down, guys scrambling to keep up. My pulse is jackhammering in my ears, and then it hits me. Rule 2, when the line races, bleed on the metal. I fumble for my pocket knife, this little beat-up thing I've carried since I was a kid. Hands shaking so bad I almost drop it. The blade's dull, rusted at the edges, but it'll do. I flip it open, grip my teeth, and nick my thumb, quick, sharp, right along the meaty part. It stings like a son of a bitch, a bright jolt that makes me hiss through my teeth, and blood wells up fast, dark red under the flickering lights. I stagger over to this steel beam, big, cold, bolted into the floor, and smear my thumb across it, leaving a wet streak. The blood hits the metal and soaks in, like the damn thing's thirsty, and I swear I see it shift, this slick smear curling, twisting into that same eye symbol I saw on the cow, all circles and jagged lines. My breath catches, and I'm just staring at it, thumb throbbing, when the line slows down. The belt's groan, the hooks clank back to normal speed, and the chaos just stops, like flipping a switch. The other guys don't even look up, keep working, aprons dripping, like this is Tuesday for them. I'm standing there, chest heaving, coffee spilled somewhere in the mess, staring at my hand. The cut's still oozing, a little trickle running down my wrist, and I'm thinking, what the hell's eating this place? What's eating the blood? My stomach's churning, and I wipe my hand on my jeans, leaving a dark smear before grabbing a rag to wrap it up. I mutter to myself, "This is insane, James. You're losing it." But I can't shake the feeling that something's watching me, waiting. I shuffle back to my spot, boots squelching on the bloody floor, and try to focus on the hooks rolling by. The hum's still there, low and steady, but now it's got this edge to it, like a growl under the surface. I'm wiping sweat off my forehead with my sleeve, the rag on my thumb already soaking through, when I catch Carl out of the corner of my eye. He's leaning against a wall, clipboard dangling from one hand, staring at me. Not mad, not surprised, just watching, his face all tight and unreadable. I nod at him, awkward, like, yeah, I handled it, but he just turns and walks off, boots echoing. I'm left there, heart still pounding, wondering if he saw the symbol, if he knows what it means. The rest of the shift drags on, slow and heavy, and I keep glancing at that beam, half expecting the mark to still be there. It's gone, though, just cold steel again, and I'm not sure if that's better or worse. So I'm still reeling from that whole line-racing, blood-smearing mess, right? My thumb's wrapped in that soggy rag, pulsing with every heartbeat, and I'm just trying to shake it off, get back to the grind, literally. I'm back at my spot near the line, hosing down the floor where meat chunks splattered, the water hissing as it mixes with the blood and turns the concrete this sickly pink. The plant's humming along again, that steady drone I'm starting to hate, and I'm muttering to myself, just keep it together, man. Few more hours, you're out. My boots are soaked through now, squishing with every step, and I'm tugging my cap down low, like that's gonna block out the weirdness still buzzing in my head. That eye symbol's burned into my brain, though. I can't unsee it, and every time I blink, it's there, lurking. A little while later, maybe an hour, hard to tell with no clocks and the night stretching forever, I'm hauling a stack of empty trays back toward the staging area. The overhead lights are buzzing, flickering just enough to make my eyes twitch, and the air's so cold my breath's puffing out in little clouds. That's when I notice them, these white hard hat guys. They just appear, man, like they stepped out of the shadows or the damn walls. Not walking in from a door or clocking in. No, they're just there, wandering around the edges of the floor. I freeze mid-step, tray wobbling in my hands, and my first thoughts, who the hell are these guys? They're not working, not pushing carts, not manning the line, just drifting, slow and aimless, like they're lost or waiting for something. I set the trays down quiet, metal clinking soft against the rack, and squint across the floor. There's 3 of them, maybe 4, spread out near the boning stations and the grinders. They're wearing these crisp white hard hats, the kind you'd see on a construction site, but their coveralls are spotless. No blood, no grease, nothing like the rest of us. And then I see it. The way they move. It's wrong, man. Wrong. One guy's arm bends back at the elbow, like it's double-jointed or snapped, swinging loose as he turns. Another's neck swivels too far, way past normal, like an owl or something broke. And I hear this faint pop, like joints grinding where they shouldn't. My stomach lurches, and Rule 3 slams into me like a freight train. Don't look at the white hats. I snap my head down fast, eyes locked on my boots, the red-stained laces blurring as I blink hard. Shit, I whisper, breath hitching, and I fumble for the hose I dropped earlier, anything to keep my hands busy. But I can't help it. I catch them in the shine of a steel panel bolted to the wall, this warped reflection that stretches their shapes. No faces, man. Just tight, blank skin pulled over skulls. No eyes, no mouths, nothing. Like someone stretched a mask too thin and called it human. My throat tightens, and I swallow hard, this sour taste creeping up. I can feel them, though. Their presence, heavy, like the air's pressing in tighter just 'cause they're near. I hustle past, keeping my head low, gripping the hose till my knuckles ache. My boots slap the wet floor, loud in my ears, and I'm weaving between the line and a stack of crates, trying to put something solid between me and them. Don't look, I mutter under my breath, over and over, like it's a damn prayer. I can still hear 'em, or not hear 'em really, just this absence of sound where they are. No footsteps, no rustle of fabric, just silence cutting through the plant's roar. I make it to the far side of the floor near the drainage grates and lean against a pillar, chest tight, feeling sick. My stomach's rolling, and I press the heel of my hand against my forehead, trying to steady my breathing. What are they? I whisper to myself, voice barely a rasp. I glance back, just a quick flick of my eyes, and they're still there, drifting, not even glancing my way. But I know they know I'm here. I shake it off, or try to, and grab a broom from a rack nearby, sweeping at nothing just to look busy. The bristles scrape the concrete, a rough scratch that grounds me a little, and I keep my back to them, focusing on the rhythm. Sweep, step, sweep. Carl's voice cuts through a minute later, yelling something about a jam at the grinder, and I jump, broom clattering. I don't look up, just nod and shuffle toward the sound, keeping those white hats in my peripheral, praying they don't drift closer. The rest of the shift's a blur, man. I'm moving on autopilot, heart still thudding, that sick feeling lodged in my gut like a stone. So after those white hat freaks drift off, or at least stop hovering where I can feel them, I'm a wreck, man. My hands are still jittery, and I'm wiping them on my apron like that's gonna calm me down. The plant's still growling around me, blades whining, belts clanking, that hum that's starting to feel like it's alive, watching me. I'm back near the line, trying to focus on something normal, something that makes sense when Rule 4 pops into my head. Count the hooks, watch the numbers. I don't even know why I start doing it, maybe because it's something to cling to, a lifeline in this chaos. I grab a stubby pencil from my pocket, one I'd snagged from the break room, and start tallying on the back of an old work order I found crumpled by my station. I'm muttering the numbers under my breath, 1, 2, 3, as the hooks roll by, carcasses swaying, dripping red onto the floor. It's night 6 now, I think anyway, because the shifts are blending into this endless slog. I'm standing there before the line kicks up, pencil scratching as I count. 84 hooks, all loaded, clanking past in that steady rhythm. I jot it down, 84, and tuck the paper in my pocket, figuring I'll check it later, see if it means anything. Shift drags on, same old grind, hosing blood, stacking trays, dodging Carl's barked orders, and by the end I'm beat, shuffling back to the line to count again. I'm bleary-eyed, leaning on a crate, ticking off the hooks as they roll out, 81, 82, 83. I stop, blink hard, recount it. 83. One's gone. My stomach drops, and I'm staring at the line, the hooks swaying empty where one should be, thinking, where'd it go? I glance around. No one's reacting, just the usual grunts and clatter, but that missing hook's gnawing at me. Next night, I'm trudging into the locker room, boots heavy, still rattled from the count. I pass by this guy's spot, some dude I'd seen around, quiet type, always chewing tobacco and spitting into a cup. His locker's wide open, empty. Not just cleared out, but bare, like it's been scrubbed clean. No jacket, no work gloves, nothing. I pause, frowning, and ask Pete, who's lacing up his boots on the bench nearby, "Hey, where's that guy? The tobacco one?" Pete doesn't even look up, just ties his laces slow and says, "Quit. Didn't show tonight." I nod, but then I see it. His boots, those scuffed up brown ones with the cracked soles, still sitting there under the bench, laces tangled. I mutter, "Quit, huh?" under my breath, and Pete just grunts, shuffling off. My chest tightens. I'm thinking about that missing hook, wondering if it's tied to this, but I shove it down, grab my gear, and head out to the floor. A couple hours later, I'm at the boning station, scrubbing down the tables where they carve up the cuts. The air's colder here, damp, and my fingers are numb from the steel brush scraping at dried blood. I'm zoned out, the repetitive scratch of the bristles almost hypnotic, when I spot this chunk of meat on the table, small, maybe fist-sized, left behind from the last run. I go to sweep it into the waste bin with my glove, but then it moves. Not a slip or a roll, it pulses, man, like a heartbeat, this slow, wet twitch under the surface. I freeze, brush clattering to the table, and my breath catches in my throat. Rule 5 hits me. If the meat moves, wrap it, ditch it in 17. I stumble back a step, boots slipping on the slick floor, and my heart's pounding so hard I can feel it in my ears. "No way," I whisper, staring at it. This thing's warm, alive, flexing like it's got a pulse of its own. I shake my head, mutter, "Get it together, James," but I'm already moving, fast, toward my locker across the floor. I dodge a guy pushing a cart, nearly knock over a stack of trays, and yank my locker open with a bang. There's this blue cloth inside, an old rag I'd shoved in there days ago, faded and stained. I snatch it, hands trembling, and hustle back. The plants hum louder now, like it's egging me on. The meat's still there, twitching stronger, and I can hear it, a faint wet thump-thump against the steel. I wrap it quick, folding the cloth tight around it, and it's warm, man, seeping through the fabric, squirming against my fingers. I gag, bile rising, but hold it together and bolt for drainage grate 17. It's this rusted square in the floor, tucked near the back wall, marked with a faded 17 in chipped paint. I've passed it 100 times, never thought twice, till now. I kneel, knees cracking, and lift the grate with one hand, the metal groaning as it swings up. The hole's dark, damp, this faint gurgle echoing up from below. I drop the bundle in, cloth and all, and it slides down slow, scraping the sides. Then, chomp, this wet, satisfied sound, like jaws snapping shut, rips up from the dark. I stumble back, falling on my ass, chest so tight I can barely breathe. The grate clangs shut as I kick it closed, and I'm just sitting there, panting, staring at it. "What the hell was that?" I rasp, voice shaking, wiping my sweaty face with my sleeve. The hum's still there, steady, but now it's got this smug edge, like the plant's grinning at me. I drag myself up, legs wobbly, and grab the brush again, pretending nothing happened. But my hands won't stop shaking, and every scrape of the bristles sounds like that chomp echoing back. Carl walks by a minute later, clipboard in hand, and glances at me. Too long, like he knows. I nod, quick, and turn away, scrubbing harder, but I can feel his eyes on my back as he moves off. The rest of the night's a haze, man. I'm just going through the motions, that pulsing meat and that chomp looping in my head, tying knots in my gut. So after that night with the pulsing meat and that damn chomp from grate 17, I'm running on fumes, man. I clock out at 7 a.m., stumble to my truck and just sit there for a minute, hands gripping the wheel, staring at the plant's silhouette against the gray dawn. The hum's still in my ears like it's followed me out, and I can't shake that feeling, like something's got its hooks in me, tugging. I drive back to my trailer, the road a blurry stretch of cracked asphalt, and crash hard, boots still on, sprawled across the couch with the TV flickering some infomercial I don't hear. But sleep's no escape. I'm dreaming of that grate, that wet snap, and those white hats turning their blank faces my way. I wake up soaked in sweat, the note crumpled in my pocket where I'd clutched it in my sleep, and I know I can't just keep stumbling through this blind. A month in now, 4 weeks of night shifts, my hands calloused and my eyes sunken, and I'm starting to snoop. I'm not dumb enough to ask questions outright. Carl's twitchy glare and Pete's don't ask shrug taught me that. But I'm digging where I can. I'm in the break room one night, scarfing down a stale sandwich from the vending machine, the bread dry and sticking to my throat. It's this dingy little space, flickering fluorescent lights, a table scratched with initials, a coffee pot that's never clean. There's a stack of old logs by the sink, water-stained and curling at the edges, left there like trash. I flip through them when no one's around, my fingers leaving greasy prints, and it's all numbers, shift counts, cattle totals, nothing weird at first. But then I notice the names. Guys listed as transferred or terminated, 17 of them every 30 days, like clockwork. I mutter to myself, 17 every month, and my sandwich sits heavy in my gut. I start piecing it together, cross-checking dates with nights I remember, like the guy with the boots who quit after the hooks dropped from 84 to 83. It's not accidents, man. Not just grinder mishaps or guys walking off. They're taken. I'm pacing the break room now, boots scuffing the linoleum, whispering, this place isn't just slaughtering cows, it's us too. The rules flash in my head, counting hooks, bleeding on metal, ditching moving meat, and it clicks. They're not saving you. They're bait, keeping you dancing till whatever's under the slab picks you out. Those white hats, they're not just wandering, they're pointing, choosing, like hounds sniffing out the next one. My chest's tight, and I shove the logs back, hands shaking, thinking, what the hell am I stuck in? Later that shift, I'm poking around the supervisor's office. Carl's off yelling at someone, so I've got a minute. There's this dented metal desk, papers scattered, a drawer half open. I tug it wider, wincing as it squeaks, and dig through, pens, a rusted stapler, then this ripped page, yellowed and brittle, stuffed in the back. I pull it out, unfold it slow, and it's some old memo, typed sloppy, talking about the plant's start decades ago. Words jump out, hit something old in the ground, black and slick, trade for output. My breath catches. Lives, man. They're trading lives for this stuff they bottle up. Some dark oil or whatever's pumping through those pipes overhead. I stuff the page in my jacket, heart hammering, and slip out before Carl stomps back, his boots echoing down the hall. One night soon after, I'm losing track, maybe night 35, I'm near Grate 17 again. I don't want to be, but they've got me sweeping the back corner, the broom rasping against the concrete. The air's heavier here, damp and cold, and that hum's louder, vibrating up through my soles. I'm brushing past the grate, keeping my eyes on the floor when I hear it, whispering, low and starved, curling up from the dark. James! It hisses, twisting my name into something jagged, hungry. I freeze, broom clattering to the ground, and the floor's humming now. Alive, pulsing under my boots like a heartbeat. My mouth's dry and I stumble back, catching myself on a steel beam, the cold biting my palms. No, 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 I mutter, voice cracking, staring at the grate. It's just a rusted square, but I swear something's moving down there. Black, slick, coiling in the shadows. I grab the broom, hands sweaty, and start sweeping again fast, like that'll make it stop. But the whispering keeps going. James, stay! Weaving through the plant's roar, and I can feel it, eyes on me, sizing me up. My skin's crawling, and I'm thinking about that memo, the trade, the 17 guys every month. I'm next, man, I know it. I finish the sweep, bolt to the break room, and sit there, hunched over a coffee I don't drink, staring at the table. The hum's still in my head, the floor still alive under me, and I'm gripping my mug so hard my knuckles go white, muttering, gotta get out, gotta figure this out. But I'm broke, stuck, and that thing under the slab's already got me in its sights. After that night by the grate, when that thing whispered my name like it was licking its lips, I'm a mess, man. I'm clocking out with my hands stuffed in my pockets, hiding the tremble, and the drive home's a blur, headlights cutting through the dark Kansas plains. I keep hearing it, James, looping in my head, mixing with the truck's rattle and the hum I can't shake. Back at my trailer, I'm pacing the tiny kitchen, boots scuffing the linoleum, that memo crumpled on the table where I dropped it. I grab a beer from the fridge, door creaks, bottle's warm 'cause the damn thing's half broke, and crack it open, but it just sits there, sweating on the counter. I'm muttering to myself, gotta get out of here, gotta quit. But the math doesn't add up. Rent's late, truck's a gas guzzler, and I've got nothing else lined up. I slump onto the couch, staring at the ceiling, that whisper still curling in my ears, and I know I'm not sleeping tonight. 3 months deep now, 90 days of this hellhole, and they bump me to supervisor. Carl slaps this key in my hand one night, this heavy brass thing with a tag that says sub-basement access, and grunts, "You're up, Reichman. Don't screw it." His eyes are sunken, like he's already half gone, and I just nod, slipping the key into my pocket. I'm thinking it's a step up, more pay, less grunt work, but there's this itch in my skull, that memo flashing back, something old in the ground. I'm on the floor later, clipboard in hand, barking at newbies to keep the line moving, and the keys weighing down my jacket, clinking against my lighter every time I shift. The hum's louder now, or maybe I'm just noticing it more, and I catch myself glancing at Grate 17, wondering what's under there, what's calling me. One night, maybe a week into the supervisor gig, I'm dumb enough to use it. Shift's winding down, most of the crew's cleared out, and I'm alone near the back wall, the air thick and damp. I fish the key out, turning it over in my hand, cold, scratched, heavier than it should be. "Just a peek," I mutter, half convincing myself, and head for this door I'd never noticed before, tucked behind a stack of crates, rusted steel with a keyhole that looks older than the plant. I slide the key in, the lock grinding like it's fighting me, and push it open with a groan that echoes down the hall. Stairs drop into the dark, slick, narrow, concrete, glistening with wet streaks. I grab a flashlight from my belt, click it on start down, boots slipping a little on each step, the air getting colder, heavier, like it's pressing me back. It's a pit down there, man, a cavern under the slab, bigger than it should be, stretching out past the flashlight's beam. The stairs end in this puddle of black water, rippling slow, and I'm sweeping the light around, heart thumping in my throat. Bones are everywhere, piled high, spiraled into weird stacks, some cattle, some not, too long and thin to be from cows. Pipes snake across the ceiling, rusted and dripping, feeding into this mass, this pulsing, heaving thing, bigger than a barn, wired into the plant like it's part of it. It's black, slick, shimmering like oil, and it's alive, throbbing slow, wet, with tendrils coiling out, rooted into the floor. My flashlight shakes in my hand, beam jittering, and I whisper, "Holy shit," voice bouncing off the walls. The hum's deafening down here, a growl that shakes my ribs, and I can smell it. Rotten, sweet, like the air upstairs, but 100 times worse. I'm backing up, boots splashing, when I break Rule 3. Don't look at the white hats. I don't mean to, man, but I look up, and one's right there, standing on a ledge above, white hard hat gleaming, blank face drilling into me. No eyes, no mouth, just that tight skin stretched over a skull, head cocked like it's studying me. My head swims, this dizzy rush hitting me hard, and the whispers everywhere. "James, stay! James!" Low and starved, like it's tasting my bones. It's not just from the grate now. It's in the walls, the pipes, the air wrapping around me. My flashlight drops, clatters into the water, and I bolt, slipping on the stairs, scrambling up on all fours. My hands smack the wet concrete, knees banging, and I'm gasping, "Get out! Get out!" Like that'll save me. The door's still open. I slam it shut, key fumbling as I lock it, and lean there, panting, the whisper fading but still echoing in my skull. After that, my hands feel off. I'm back on the floor next shift, clipboard shaking as I mark the ledger, and my fingers, they're stretching, man, longer than they should be, joints popping wrong when I flex them. I'm flexing my right hand, watching the knuckles crack too loud, and mutter, "What's happening to me?" under my breath. Carl glances over, sharp, but doesn't say a word, just walks off. I shove my hands in my pockets, hiding them, but I can feel it. Something's shifting, something's wrong. The hum's still there, smug now, and I'm thinking about that mass, those bones, that white hat staring me down. I'm marked. Man, I broke the rule, and it's got me now. So, after that night in the sub-basement, after breaking Rule 3 and feeling that thing's whisper sink into me, I'm not the same, man. I stumble back to my trailer that morning, key still clutched in my fist, and collapse on the couch, the springs groaning under me. My hands are trembling, fingers flexing too long, popping loud when I curl them, and I'm staring at them under the dim lamp like they're not mine anymore. What's it doing to me? I mutter, voice scratchy, but there's no answer, just the wind rattling the trailer and that hum still buzzing in my skull. I don't sleep, Just sit there till the sun's up, watching shadows stretch across the peeling walls, feeling my joints shift every time I move. The plants got me, man. I know it, and there's no running now. 6 months later, half a year swallowed by this place, and I'm running orientation for the newbies. I'm standing in the locker room, clipboard in hand, facing a dozen wide-eyed guys, fresh off the street, just like I was once. They're shuffling their boots, tugging at their hairnets, nervous laughs bouncing off the concrete walls. I'm moving weird now, elbows snapping back too far when I point, neck twisting past normal when I turn to grab something, a crack pop echoing every time. One kid, skinny with a patchy beard, stares too long, and I catch his eyes widen before he looks away. Rough job, I say, voice flat, trying to sound normal, but it's got this rasp now, like something scraped it raw. I'm handing out gear, aprons, gloves, the usual, but then I pull out the envelopes, these damp, heavy things, soaked red and reeking like the floor upstairs. My fingers drip as I pass them out, not sweat, man, but this black oil, thick and slick, staining the paper where I grip it. The kid takes his, hands shaking, and I mutter, "Read it, follow it," before moving on, my boots dragging slow across the tiles. Shift starts, and I'm by the line again, counting hooks like it's muscle memory, Rule 4 burned into me now. I'm leaning on a crate, pencil scratching on my clipboard, 84 to start, hooks clanking past, carcasses swaying. My hands too long, fingers curling awkward around the pencil, leaving smudges of that oil on the page. Hours later, I count again, 83. One's gone, same as always, and I don't even blink, just mark it down and shuffle off. I'm in the office after, this cramped little box with a flickering bulb and a desk buried in papers. I sit heavy in the chair, it creaks under me, and open the ledger, that beat-up leather thing Carl used to carry. My hand hovers over it, leaking that black stuff, dripping slow onto the page, and I scratch a tally with a finger that bends wrong, the ink mixing with the oil into a dark smear. The pipes overhead groan, like they're thirsty for it, and I can hear 'em gurgling, sucking it up somewhere above. This place isn't a job anymore, man. It's a cycle, a machine that never stops. Cows rolling up top, hooves clattering, blood pooling, and us down below. We're the real meat, feeding that thing under the slab. I saw it, that pulsing mass, and I know now. It spits out this oil, this black slick they bottle up, ship off to some shadow in a suit who doesn't care who's next. I'm back on the floor later, sweeping near grate 17, and my voice whispers up from the dark. "Meek!" calling the new kid's name, low and hungry, like it's not even me anymore. I freeze, broom slipping from my hands, and lean closer, hearing it twist through the hum. "Meek, stay!" My lips aren't moving, but it's my voice, or what's left of it, echoing from the drain. I stumble back to the office, legs stiff, and slump into the chair, staring at my hands, too long, too bent, dripping that oil onto the floor. Some jobs don't pay you. I mutter, half gone, voice barely a rasp. They remake you. I flex my fingers, hearing the joints pop wrong, and the hum's louder now, smug, like it's laughing. I'm not James anymore, not really. Just another piece in the line, waiting to call the next guy down. The newbies are out there, fumbling through their first night, and I know one's already marked. Hooks'll drop, rules'll snag 'em, and that thing'll whisper their name soon enough. I lean back, neck cracking too far, and let the hum take over, wondering how long till I'm just a white hat drifting the floor. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more creepy stories. Stay safe, and see you in the next nightmare.